we go. Good afternoon, everyone, or is it good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. My name is Leslie O'Connor, and I am a part of the Real Table Talk. And we are here today with our wonderful guest, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I even had problems pronouncing your surname, so I do apologise. Is it Takika?
Techi.
Techi. Elizabeth Techi. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us today, Sunday, the 11th of April, 5 o'clock. We really appreciate you jumping on this platform and saying hello to us all. So like I said, my name is Leslie O'Connor, and part of the Real Table Talk, we have got Karen Cruz and Marcia Hilton. So ladies, please introduce yourselves.
Okay, I am Marcia Hilton, and I am the founder and CEO of Life Inspired Wellness, and I help women break free from the patterns of toxic relationships and help them create healthy new ones. That's me.
Thank you.
I am Karen Cruz, and I am the founder and director of Flourish Minds. So we're a life coaching company, and we specialise in working with young people, helping them to overcome the obstacles that are stopping them being their absolute best. So things around confidence, self-esteem, self-belief. We break through all those barriers and just help our young people to thrive.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Elizabeth, I'm going to introduce you. Just 1 minute. So before I introduce our special guest today, can I just ask you, ladies, how have you been? Because happy Easter. We haven't been here for a couple of weeks. Yeah, so how have you been? How was your Easter? What have you been up to?
Well, I've just been spending time with family, and so that's been nice, spending time with the grandkids. So that was really nice. Yeah, spending time with them, and been working on a project that I'm launching, which is actually going to be launched on the 27th of April, and it's my new program, 8-week program. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. So yeah, places are limited, so if anybody wants to jump on, please do.
Yeah. Nice.
It sounds fascinating.
Oh, I'm really
fascinating. Excellent. And yourself, Karen, what have you been up to?
Well, Easter, so I've been eating the most amount of chocolate.
No, you haven't.
And I've eaten quite a bit of chocolate. I haven't told you every time about it, Leslie, or Marcia. But I've also been really busy. So I'm working with a business coach who's helping me to put together a business plan for the next 12 months and 5 years of Flourished Minds. So we're working on how we can now scale the business up. So that's really, really exciting. And I spent the whole of this Saturday coaching. So I had a full day of coaching children and coaching their parents. Couldn't get rid of the parents. I'm like, this isn't for you, it's for your kids. But yeah, a whole day of coaching young children, which was just the best thing. It was beautiful. So I've had a lovely week. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I've been busy getting my assignments completed. I'm nearly there. Yeah. So I had to interview 3 different people for my assignment, what I'm working on. And I've done my interviews, and now I've got to listen to the transcripts and type it all up, and wow, that is taking a long time, but I'm still enjoying it. I love it. It's all good, and the weather's nice today, so that's good. You've been out walking, running, jogging, cycling?
I've been out walking, but it wasn't nice weather. It was sunny, but it was freezing.
Yeah, it has been really cold. It has. Sorry, Marcia.
No, I was just going to say, I just coop up in the house. I haven't been anywhere. I've not been anywhere. Done no walking, but it's all good.
It's all good. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on this platform with the Real Table Talk. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here, because this subject is just so close to my heart. So thank you for coming on, and let me introduce you to our wonderful audience. So like I said, we have Elizabeth with us today, our special guest. So let me tell you something about Elizabeth. Elizabeth was diagnosed with Dyslexia, Dyspraxia and Irlen, I've forgotten it already.
Irlen Syndrome.
Irlen Syndrome. So Elizabeth, she set up a charity organisation, and she's also recently been diagnosed, wait for it, you're gonna have to say it, Elizabeth.
Dyscalculia.
Dyscalculia.
Yeah.
Wow. So we need to hear everything about this. After identifying a gap in support services, she took it upon herself to support adults with dyslexia and other, I can never say this, so forgive me, specific. Say it, help me out, ladies.
Specific?
Yes.
Yes. Specific.
Yeah. Who want to start their own businesses, go back to further education, or improve their employability skills. Elizabeth felt that she needed to help other dyslexics who may be struggling within education, self-employment system, or within the workplace. So please welcome Elizabeth to our platform today. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Leslie. Lovely to meet you all. Lovely to meet you, Karen, and awesome to meet you, Marcia. It's an honor to come on your show today, to share the knowledge and understanding and the awareness of all the different conditions that, Leslie, you've spoken about today. Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth, so let me just tell you what happens here. So Karen is going to be watching for comments. So anybody who would like to ask Elizabeth any questions regarding the topics, what we're going to be talking about, just leave us a comment and Karen will read out your comments and we'll answer them. Elizabeth will answer them the best way we can. Okay? And just say hello to you all. Did we say hello to everybody? Hello.
I've sneakily been saying hello to people.
Who said hello, sorry?
I said I've been sneakily saying hello to people on the comments.
Oh, right.
And people are already saying hi, so yeah.
Right, so Elizabeth, first of all, can we just talk about dyscalculia, please? I want to know a little bit more about this.
Okay, so what is dyscalculia? And to be honest with you, not many people know what the understanding of it. There's a lot of us that suffer from or struggle, let me not use the word suffer, but struggle with maths. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you're struggling to add up, you've got dyscalculia, but it is a real condition. And what it is basically, I'll be honest with you, as old as I am, to tell the time is a problem for me. I can't measure distances. If someone says we're going to bake a cake and we're going to take this amount of ounces or whatever they call it, I don't even know the names for it. I don't know. If I'm going to bake something, I just have to weigh it in my head and just figure out how this cake is going to turn out. Someone will say, that's really creative. You know, you don't have to measure. It's because my dyscalculia is really severe, to the extent that, you know, if you ask me the times table, the one times table I might just manage because it's like there, easy. Don't ask me anything like 9 times 7 out of the blues, because I'll be like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to know the answer for you. That doesn't mean I'm thick. It doesn't mean I'm stupid. It doesn't mean I'm dumb. It's a condition, and it's known as dyscalculia, and it's everything to do with maths. So when we used to use cash in the shops, I call it when we used to, because everything's card now, I would go to the shop and I would purchase something and I would purposely give them less than like a £10 note. All I may want is a packet of chewing gum, but I'm not going to be able to work out the change. So I'm like, do you know what? Buy £5 worth of goods and don't ask me, how do I add up the £5 worth? But I would just pick up things and hope it's £5 worth. And I know that what they're going to give me back in the change will be that greeny kind of color £5 note. Yeah, so I'll walk away with that. But if I bought a packet of chewing gum and just alone, and they gave me the change in so many, I will just have to trust they've given me the right amount of money. I'm not going to be able to add it up. Now, as it sounds like it's really one of my darkest secrets that I kept for so many years, I don't want to know I couldn't add up, or I'm really rubbish at maths. But it wasn't helping me in any shape or form. And I had to literally just say, look, something's not right. So about 2 years ago, I went for an assessment, and I always knew something was wrong with me. Not just the dyslexia, not just the dyspraxia, and not just the Irlen syndrome, but I knew there was more than that. So I went for an assessment, and I knew all along there was going to be a yes for the assessment. And it came back as I've got dyscalculia, and I thought, okay, I knew it, but it's good to know. It's good to have it in that form of report, because then at least, even though it will take me years to read that report and I understand what I've written. So everything about the dyscalculia it's just really, I just have to keep saying, please God, let it be the right change, or let them give me the right change. And if you're not careful, people might take advantage because you don't know what the change you've been given or given out. You just have to trust the people around you that they understand the condition. Yeah. As a result, I'm always late to places. I'm either very late because the time is like, what is the time? Or I'm very early. Yeah. I've got alarms set for everything. I've got post-it notes for everything. I've got, my house is like, I can't even explain it to you. It is a condition that's hidden. And that's a result, if you're not careful, it can form like some kind of a mental issue, because you're constantly double 100% checking to make sure that you've got the right time, to make sure you've got the right change, to make sure you've got the right date to it. It's all to do with numbers. And there's not much understanding or awareness of it. But there is, I don't know the percentage of how many people in the UK that might suffer from, or might struggle with dyscalculia. I've been told never to use the word suffer, struggle rather. I don't have the figures, but perhaps, someone could Google it and see. Or we have recently done a podcast on struggling with maths, which an amazing, his name is Pete Jarrett, and he's an academia, and he does research around this. If you Google it, A2 Dyslexia, why do I struggle with maths, it'll just pop up, and it's a podcast, and you could listen to what that is. Yeah.
Oh wow, that is, I mean, I've never heard of that before, and that is just so interesting. So Elizabeth, when I got diagnosed when I was 30 years old, or 30 years young, I got diagnosed with dyslexia. And for me, it was a light bulb moment, because it was just like, yeah, I found a name to what my problem was within learning. So when did you first know, that you were dyslexic?
Okay, so to be honest with you, from when I was growing up, I come from a family of 4 sisters, including me. That's the 4th. That's how I always can describe it. When people say, what's your siblings? I think, well, including me is 4. Because remember, I'm struggling with this condition, and it's like I have to keep counting back to so there's 4 sisters and 1 brother. My sisters have done incredibly well for themselves, and I was what you call the black sheep of the family, the odd one that does things back to front, does completely the opposite to what my other sisters were doing. So I think my dad would probably have noticed something was wrong, but I'm going to be honest with you. I was born in the 70s. He wouldn't have known about dyslexia or any of these conditions. So I struggled massively. I was one of those distracted children in class, would bunk off the school, would never be there to learn. And I'm not saying it's the right thing that I did, but at the time, it kind of made sense. When you're 16 or 14 or 13, you think, I can't go to that lesson because I'm not going to be able to understand what's being taught. So fast forward, it's when I had my 2 children later on in life, later on about in my sort of mid-30s, is when I was actually working in a bank at the time, and a young girl came as a graduate, and I was training her. I was working for Barclays at the time, and she was on a better salary than I was. And I thought, hang on a minute, how come she earn more than me? We were just talking, and she was on a graduate training program. And so, because I've got a degree, and I thought, oh, that's something I'd like to get. I'd like to get that. How'd you get one of them? And so you go to uni and you study for it. So I thought, I could do that easily. I didn't know I had dyslexia at the time. So I went to South Bank University, and I remember turning up at the admissions office, and the lady at the reception said, how can I help you? And I said, I'm here to learn. And she said, what would you like to learn? And I said, well, this is a place for learning. So you tell me what's on offer. I don't know. I'm here to learn. Tell me what's on offer. So she kind of laughed, and she must have thought, what a peculiar person this one is, because most people know what they want to learn when they go to uni. So well, we've got some spaces on left on human resource management. I said, I do human. I love people, so I could do that one. I said, that's the one. That's why I'm here, to deal with human. But it was personnel management, glorified personnel management, and it was admin based, isn't it, at the time? So I went on a course, and to be honest, I fell drastically in my first year. Everything that I was doing was the opposite to everything everybody else was doing. So I remember one of the lecturers there said, "Do you think you might have dyslexia?" And I went, "Me? What's that?" And she said, and then she explained what it was. I said, no. I said, "I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me." She said, "Well, that's up to you, but you can go for help if you want to. But you can if you want, but if you don't, to be honest, you might not even last long on this course. You're failing." So I was like, the last thing I ever wanted was a label. I'll be honest, because what was that about? You know, and one of the things I kept saying, but I look fine. There's no part of me that looks not fine. Everything's intact. So, you know, what could possibly be wrong with me? And it's when I went for the assessment, it came back as I've got dyslexia and dyspraxia. And I went, what is that then? And that's when they explained. I thought, okay, now I know why I was always failing in school. Now I know why I'm different to the rest. Now I know why I do things back to front. And now I know why I'm so amazing and creative in so many different ways, you know? So I had to own it, but it wasn't an easy journey. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah. Wow, that is so interesting. I mean, we've got very similar, very similar stories and that, but yeah, it's so fascinating. So then you progressed on with your degree, and how did you get on?
So I progressed with the degree. I'm going to be honest with you, Leslie, it was one of the most painful journeys I've ever had to embark on. I don't know, but with my dyslexia, it's like, we're talking about where the lecturer's giving the lecture, and I'm like, what was all that about? I've left the lecture theatre with nothing in my head. I mean, it's no joke. I've literally left there thinking, oh, that was a beautiful colour shirt he was wearing. That's the only thing I took out of that lectures. And of course, I got one-to-one support. So it's the one-to-one support that will break it all down. And I'm like, but how am I ever going to catch up? Because I'm in a lecture theatre. I'm coming out, and then I've got time with you. I'm never going to catch up with this. But you know what, Leslie and Karen and Marcia, that's the one thing I wasn't never going to give up, because I was always quick to quit. I would just run away and start something else, and run away and start something else. So I've never seen things through to the end. And one day it was like, you better face your demons, because dyslexia, it doesn't leave you. It goes with you wherever you go. So it was the one thing that I thought, look, I'm going to see this through to the end. And I stuck at it. And to be honest, I can't explain to you that experience. I've given birth to 3 children. Nothing was as painful as my university degree. It was a complete nightmare, but I never gave up. I still saw it through to the end.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Honestly, that is so nice. So what's the difference then with dyslexia and dyspraxia?
So the dyslexia is, my dyslexia affects me in so many different ways. I mean, people think that dyslexia is reading, writing, spelling. It's more than that.
Yeah,
it's 100% more than that. It's out of a classroom, it can affect. Okay, so for example, are you in Manchester?
Yeah.
So if I'm driving to Manchester, remember the road signs are all written. It's all words. Yeah. So how do I read those words to understand what left to take, what right to take, where to go, what, you know, how do I do all that? And as a result, I passed my driving test about the 5th time. And, you know, I don't drive on motorways. I don't like it because I feel like I'm going to get lost. I don't really do the dual carriageways because I'm like, look, I'm just going to do some kind of no entry, and I've had it, you know. I mean, someone once said to me, I think you better stay off the road, but I only do inner city driving because I know if I know the area, if I'm really familiar with the area, that's all I will ever do. So it affects me outside of my work and education, people's names. I mean, I'm looking at your names now and I'm only identifying your names by what you're wearing. So I know, Leslie, you've got white on, and I know Marcia's wearing a printed top, and I know Marcia, you see, I've even got that wrong. Karen's wearing a printed top and Marcia's got plain black, and that's the only way I'm going to identify your names, because what's written there, it's gibberish for me as a dyslexic. So you can imagine a young person, if a teacher's teaching a child and they don't know they've got dyslexia. One, from the parents that haven't got the knowledge, and two, the teacher wasn't trained, because I'm a teacher, I wasn't trained. I was only trained like 15 minutes on what is specific learning difficulties. And if you haven't got the knowledge, you're going to leave that child behind and think, look, no one's got time to waste an hour on one child who's not getting it, and they'll move on. And as a result of not being able to get the help that that young person will need, there's 3 routes they can go. It's either long-term unemployment, a prison pipeline, or mental health. And that's very devastating. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is just so interesting. And I can just relate to everything you're saying about the driving, the motorway. Yeah, I can just so relate. But I was 5 times, because I don't know my left and my right. So I've really got to think about which is, yes, I know this is my right, because I use this hand to do my signature. So I know that's my right hand. But yeah, I've really got to think about that. But wow, thank you.
Elizabeth, can I ask you something? So there was another diagnosis that I'd never heard of before that you have as well, and I've forgotten what that was.
Dyscalculia. Is that to do with the maths or Irlen syndrome?
No, Irlen syndrome. That's
Irlen, yeah. So basically, Irlen is also known as visual stress. And as a dyslexic, for me, I only read on light blue colored paper. Or if the paper is white, the writing, the typing has to be blue. It cannot be any other color, because if it's black and white, maybe I can read it, but I've misread it. So you can imagine things like insurance policies and mortgage and all those policies we take out. I mean, I'm like, look, just let me sign it and go. And you're signing and going, for God, what did I sign? Because I haven't read the small print. And that's not, if I say that, a lot of people don't read the small print, I think. But for me, it's black and white. It's black and it's on white. So words move off the paper, words disappear. So you could give me a piece of paper and all I see is blank white. Unless if I've got my glasses on, which I've got right here with me, which is blue tinted. So it's called visual stress. And sometimes also dyslexia is different for everybody. I'll just take my glasses on for now. It's different for everybody. So this is what I used to read. And when I've got this on, I can see, it's like being in paradise. And it really works for me. Now, it also comes as a sheet of paper that you can put over your black and white written documents that we get. But I have dyspraxia, which means I'm quite clumsy and scatty and all over the place. So I kept losing it. I kept losing it all the time. So when I got these glasses done, from the Irlen institution, I can't lose this. It's in my bag 24/7. Irlen, all the conditions I've spoken about could be seen as shame, as a stigma. Sorry, that's my neighbor from upstairs. I hope you can't hear the noise. As seen as a stigma, and also seen as shame. It can be shameful. People like, well, what do you mean you can't add up? Come on, even a 2-year-old can add up. What do you mean, or 3-year-old can add up? What do you mean you don't know? And going back to the Irlen now, if you've got the condition as dyscalculia, and then you've got dyslexia, and then you're also not able to read the things that are given to you, trust me, you are left behind. Everyone's going before you. But now that I've got all the help and support I need, I can just literally put my glasses on and read it. And I will say to whoever that is, if it's a document, I'll say, look, I need time to go away and read this and come back to you. So it's when words disappear off the page for some people. For some people, it seems as if someone spilled water on the page, so it looks all blurry. And for some people, they read with their finger following the line, so they don't miss any sort of letters or anything. So when I'm reading, I focus so hard on one piece and I'll be going right across it. And I'm saying, no one speak to me, no one call me, no one talk to me, because I need total silence to get it, to understand it all. And that's Irlen, and also known as visual stress. So some people will say that if you do a little Google, you find it, Irlen syndrome. Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard that. I've never heard that term before. Very interesting. Very interesting. My grandson has dyspraxia.
Yeah.
My grandsons. What exactly is dyspraxia? Is different to dyslexia?
So dyspraxia is more sort of coordination.
Right.
So, for example, I've never been able to ride a bike. Now, when I was young, I was a proper tomboy, and when I say I'm a tomboy, I was a tomboy. But that's one thing I couldn't do, like ride a bicycle. Even when I'm playing football with the boys, I'll be kicking the ball the other direction. I'd be like, what's wrong with her? You know, so it's to do with coordination. You know, when, you know, for young people might be things like doing up your button, struggling to do up a button, or, you know, zips, or, because if sometimes when I'm doing up my button, and if I look in the mirror, it's like, which way is it? You know, you get really muddled up with it, even at my age. How to tie shoelaces. It's also to do with memory as well, so you forget things very easily. You're right in the middle of talking and you pause and go, what was all that about? What was I saying? You have to remember to go back to what you were saying. So it's to do with all that as well, and coordination, and maybe left and right is part of that. Maybe left and right isn't dyslexia so much. It might be the dyspraxia side. So it's all to do with coordination. Back in the days, they used to call it child clumsy syndrome or something. So I'm quite clumsy. I mean, I'll be holding something and just literally, I think, hang on, I thought I had a grip on that, and it will literally just collapse on me. There's an amazing author called Amanda Kirby, who's done great, she's written books on dyspraxia, and yeah, she's got very deep understanding. Remember, I have the lift condition. I am not academically, well, can't even say that right, academically trained in these areas of a lift condition. I am actually going back to education to study every single part of these conditions that I have, because it is genetic. And, you know, if I don't do nothing about it, maybe one of my grandchildren might pick that up at some point. And then you wonder why, and you think, oh, where did that come from? But it is genetic. I just want, especially our Black community, to understand that all these conditions I have spoken about, they are not made up. They're real. They're real.
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely real. I mean, for me, I was a little bit, I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. At school, I didn't get it. I didn't understand how it all worked, you know, with English, reading. I didn't understand the words. I couldn't read the words. And I know, you know, you said you've got the glasses, because I wear sunglasses. I've got my sunglasses on, and I'm sat reading because I know I can't read black and white. It's got to be, my letters have got to be coloured. It's got to be, I can't read. Otherwise, it's all just jumbled up together and it's just a big mess. So it just separates the words. So you've started this business. Do you find, have you got a lot of, how did you start your business, and how can people, how did you start your business? I'm just, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. There's Karen, is there anything you wanted to ask? Because Karen's just sitting there by herself, and I'm like, is there anything she wanted to ask, or should I just go ahead?
Oh, sorry, Karen.
Shall I just go ahead, Karen?
The thing is, you probably picked up, Elizabeth. You maybe can see my eyes. I'm very, really quiet. There's a lot going on in my mind at the moment. I wouldn't even know which one to ask first, but working with young people, I'm seeing a lot of young people coming to me who have either been diagnosed with ADHD, or they're now self-diagnosing. That's the other thing I'm seeing. Kids are going, I think I've got ADHD, and I'm going, well, how do you know? I just think I have, or my mum's told me I have. And dyslexia, I see that. I hear children talking about words jumping off the page. My thing is the frustration teachers have with children who are exhibiting this sort of behaviour. So our work, Elizabeth, is, you know, we say to teachers, any behaviour that you see a child demonstrating, whether it's kicking a chair, sticking two fingers up, they are telling you that all is not well. That's what they're saying to you. They didn't wake up that morning and think, I'm going to kick a chair. They're saying to you, something's not right, you know, and that just needs some attention. And for me, I think it's about educating teachers. I worked with a young girl who she kept saying she was getting into trouble all the time because they gave her, I think it was a purple thing to put over her sheet, but she kept losing it. So she'd get in detention because she kept losing her. And we're saying, well, let's try and understand why she keeps losing it. Maybe there's something to do with organisation. But for me, it's the impatience of teachers to really understand what's happening with our young people. So I find that quite frustrating. And sometimes, I think I was just telling you earlier on, sometimes parents either not wanting to or not understanding that the kids are really struggling academically. And I found a lot of children before with ADHD who are very creative. That seems to be another thing that's happening. So yeah, there's just
the thing with
talking.
Absolutely. The thing with the specific learning difficulty umbrella is one can have dyslexia, dyspraxia, Dyscalculia, Irlen Syndrome, ADHD, Tourette's, ASD, autism. One can have all that in one. So there could be someone who's got all that condition in one, because under that umbrella, you could have all that. Or you may have dyslexia and autism, dyslexia and ADHD. I'm actually going to go and get assessed for ADHD because I'm like, come on, something just doesn't add up. And I'm not ashamed to even talk about it because, you know, it's like, sit me down for like 45 minutes, I've had enough, I'm moving on. I have to finish with something, I'm doing something. And I mean, my parents, my mum would say to you was so hyper as a child. My son's got ADHD and I'm like, where did he get that from? Do you see what I mean? So it's particularly girls as well. For boys, maybe it's easy to diagnose. For girls, it might not be so simple or so easy. And they go undiagnosed and it can come with huge issues, all sorts of issues going on. Going back to what Karen was saying, teachers to have understanding. Teachers are not trained on specific learning. And if they are, it wouldn't be a whole module, probably just be the touch up on it and move on. Now, if you've got a child in your class who's got all these conditions I've mentioned, and you've only had 15 minutes, for example, when I did my teacher's training, I had 15 minutes on an essay to say whether that person got dyslexia or not, 15 minutes. I mean, how am I going to know? I'm not even an assessor. So I do agree, it should be embedded in teachers' training so that, you know, that they'll be able to know how to do it. But then there's so many specific learning difficulties. In the end, when we finish the teaching degree, then I'm guessing it's up to that individual teacher to go and train themselves in these areas. And that's not cheap. That comes with a cost. You know, I hope to go and do my master's in specific learning difficulties with dyslexia. It's $9,000, you know, so it all comes with cost. But as much as teachers having knowledge, it's also great for parents. I mean, we've got Google, you know, if your child said, Mom, I'm really struggling, you know, try and find out what they're struggling, what it's about. And I know Google never gives all the answers, but it's a starting point of something. Or maybe, you know, go to your doctor. I mean, ADHD, you can get assessed on the NHS. Dyslexia is difficult. You know, dyslexia is one that you might have to pay for yourself. But ADHD and autism and that, the doctors can refer you to occupational therapists or educational psychologists.
Yeah. So we do have some comments, Elizabeth. So Tina says that Irlen syndrome, a substantial number of people who are on the autistic spectrum also have this syndrome.
Yeah.
And Sergi says the process of diagnosis is lengthy and complicated. Is that for dyslexia, maybe? So I know a guy at university who wants to have a he wants to have a test for, I think it's dyslexia, but it's about $1,000. He said it's really, really expensive.
Yeah. And that's the one that, to be honest with you, most universities will, when I went to uni, and I don't know about Leslie, I got my assessment for free. Now we're talking about 2001. Yeah. Now I think people might have to pay towards it.
Yeah, they've stopped.
Yeah. We do dyslexia assessment. I mean, I'm based in London and we do dyslexia assessment at A2inspire Dyslexia. We charge £420. That's just the dyslexia. So if all these other conditions I've mentioned will be separate price. So what tends to happen is people will then, parents or an adult may think, actually, do I have £500 to spare or £420 to spare? Or do I pay my rent this month and put food on the table? Which one comes first? And that's why a lot of people go, just literally will struggle and just not bother with it, because it's not one that's free. It can be free on this. If your child is at school, you can speak to the Senko and they can refer you, or refer the child, but it's not something that's going to be done immediately. It could be a 1-year waiting list, a 6-month waiting list. So most parents would say, well, actually, I'm not going to go on holiday this year, use that money to do the assessment, because the assessment was my key to success. That was my passport to success. Yeah.
And I think what you see is different things in different schools. So one of the schools that I worked in had a dyslexia department, so that was amazing to see. Other schools are just like, here's some coloured paper, just crack on with your reading. Marcy Clark saying, it really saddens me to hear that we're still having misunderstanding about children's behaviour in the classroom. This went on in, decades ago before there was any understanding about dyslexia. So many children were left behind as a result, or labelled as stupid when they really hadn't been diagnosed. And it's so true, it's still happening. Yeah. And I've told you before, it's just so frustrating. It really is.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I mean, someone once said to me, you've got to be rich to have dyslexia. If you've got the money, you can get all the services you need. If you ain't got the money, it's like you're left behind. And I was one of those lucky ones, and I guess Leslie as well. Going to university was where I got it diagnosed. I would not have been able to afford it. I had 2 young children at the time. I was a single mum. £420 is a lot of money. I wouldn't have had the money at the time. So, you know, we'll have people that say, well, what if I don't do the uni route? It's difficult. It's very difficult because not even colleges, and if colleges offer it, you might have to wait for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to bring that into schools, definitely. You need to know. When I got diagnosed, I joined the police service, and it was my sergeant who said, when I was going through the different exams, and he said, have you ever been tested for dyslexia? And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then once I got tested, he said dyspraxia, dyslexia. But yeah, so, but like I said, it was like a light bulb moment. It was just brilliant. So for university, for me, to get everything in place, I still, for all these years, I'm going back to 1996, I still had that report of what I was given from the police. You know, I still had the report. So because I had that report and I could prove that I was dyslexic, you know, for university, I think they charged me £200 because they needed to have it, because it was so long, they needed to have it. I needed to have another assessment. But yeah, I think they need to have that in the schools, because there's so many young people who are dyslexic. And
absolutely. I mean, just to give you some statistic, 1 in 10 will have dyslexia. I've got a few statistics right here. So you will have 1 in 10 in the UK living with dyslexia in the UK, and that's according to the NHS. 4 out of 10 unemployed people using Job Centre Plus are dyslexic, according to one research that was done in 2012. I'm going to need my glasses for this because it's all going haywire on me. Do bear with me 1 second, please. Yeah.
okay.
Right, okay, there we go. Right, and then you've got 40 to 50% of prisoners are below the average age of this literacy and numeracy. So the age of 11, they read at the age of 11, and 40% of prison inmates may have dyslexia. 10% of the population have got dyslexia, but 4% severely so. Now, on the plus side, though, 50% or 50 of the world's most notable dyslexics are entrepreneurs and millionaires. Now, here are some names. So you have Steve Jobs, you have Richard Branson, you have Benjamin Zephaniah, Jamie Oliver, Whoopi Goldberg, Danny Glover, Tom Cruise, Will Smith, Cher, the list is on and on and on. And then you've got 20% of the UK business self-starters who have dyslexia. Now, people say, well, how did that come about? There's always a plus and a minus of everything that we struggle with in this world. Now, dyslexics are the most amazing creative people you could ever think of.
Yeah.
The man who set up IKEA has got dyslexia. Walt Disney, apparently, or maybe not, dyslexic. I don't know, Ford, dyslexic. So all these great, amazing inventors have got dyslexia. And then you think, okay, well, we can't even write our names. So how does that make sense? So, of course, when you go into the workplace, you're not really, some people are not treated fairly. I said, come on, Elizabeth, I need that report by 5 p.m. And you're like, really? Okay. 5 p.m., how many hours is that then? I'm counting my fingers. To be honest, if you're not careful, you'll be fired. If you don't disclose, then it's like, listen, you're not performing, you're not really pulling your weight. They're not, because I don't normally disclose, I never disclose dyslexia because I needed to work and support my kids. Yet I failed drastically in the corporate world. So in the end, out of shame and embarrassment, I literally left. One afternoon, I picked up my bag and I was gone, you know, because it was so embarrassing. So you think, okay, hang on. You look around you and you think, well, I'm going to do it my way, you know, because if I'm doing it my way and I can't spell, that's me that can't spell. And then guess what? I'll hire someone who can to do it for me. This is why there's so many dyslexics. I mean, do a Google, you see the list is on and on. And there are some amazing Black dyslexics who have done so great. It's because our minds think so differently from everyone else.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And that should be embraced rather than made shameful, shouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So when I wrote back to this mum,
Absolutely, yeah.
she was going to be academic, I actually said in the email, a lot of people with dyslexia, children with dyslexia, I said are blessed with a creative mind. you know, because he is very, very, very creative, but they weren't recognizing that at all. They just saw him as failing. And just as Leslie's eyes were lighting up while you were speaking, Elizabeth, when we brought a lady with ADHD into school to speak to one of the students I was working with, that student started to cry because she was able to totally understand this child. And the young girl, she's only 12, she was like, this is what I've been trying to tell teachers like forever, and nobody understands me, and you just get it all. And she actually did get emotional.
Absolutely, yeah, because it's not visual, is it? No one can see it. It's all in the head. It's all like, it's mentally, so no one can see what you're struggling with. So sometimes, you know, people don't believe you. The amount of time people have said, oh, are you dyslexic? You don't look dyslexic. No. How should I look? How do I need to look?
Yeah.
Or sometimes, you know, at A2inspire Dyslexia, we get phone calls and people say, do Black people have dyslexia? Yes, we do. Yes, we do have dyslexia, because there's not much representation out there. People don't see a lot of Black people coming out to talk about dyslexia openly. I didn't know many until I set up A2inspire Dyslexia. And the reason why the company was set up, because I thought, you know what, no one's going to hire me. I'll work for myself. I'll do it my way. And here we are, 5 years later, supporting the community.
Fantastic. So tell us, sorry, Marcy, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking as you were talking, you know, the education system. Yeah, of course, you know, we need to have, you know, all the, you know, we need to have education, but you know, just the creativity aspect of it should, you know, I think is not probably celebrated enough. It's all about the exams and, you know, regurgitating all these facts, you know, and a lot of it you're never going to use anyway when you leave school. So it's like embracing the other stuff as well, you know, like the creativity, you know, like the cutting down on things like, you know, I don't know, drama in school or sports or whatever. I'm not saying that, you know, we should all go and do sports, but that creativity that is there. I'm just thinking about one of my kids actually, and I'm kind of backtracking now. I'm thinking, well, I wonder, you know, I'm wondering now, you know, and I'm just thinking, because, you know, one of them was really creative, wasn't so much the academia, whereas his brothers were academia. He wasn't, and he had the hardest time at school.
To be honest, as parents and as educators, if we don't notice the creativity of the individual person or people, you know, they end up going the route they shouldn't really go. And do you know what? The amount of talks I've gone out to give, and students self-harming, you know, people depression, you know, anxiety, all sorts of things, because parents are like, you're going to be a doctor. And I'm like, do you know what? I'm not going to be a doctor. Shall I tell you why? Because I can't spell the damn word. That's why I'm not going to be that. And sometimes parents will keep pushing. And I always say, look at the creativity in this world, without color, without artists, without musicians. Look at somebody like will.i.am. He's got ADHD. Look how incredible he is, you know? And you look at all these incredible creativity around us, yet we want our kids to be doctors, lawyers, solicitors. Do you know how many doctors, lawyers, you know, how many lawyers, Black lawyers that could be unemployed right now, but could utilize their creative skill to become someone? And, you know, and I know it's all about academics, and I know you need your maths, English and science, which I don't have as I speak to you right now. It has never stopped me from achieving, because, you know, I do what I'm good at, and what I can't, I hire someone to do it. You know, it's really that simple. But
it really is. And we could go on forever with this subject, but the difficulty that I see as well at schools is that when budgets get cut, the first thing that goes, art, music, you know, drama, they're the things that get cut, but they're the things that really benefit our children who aren't academic. And that's why, you know, Marcia and Leslie certainly know about our business and Flourish Minds. Marina's on here. Marina's got a comment on here as well to read out. But, you know, we never start with academics, ever. We never, ever start with academics. It's tell me what you love, tell me what you're good at, tell me what you want to achieve in your life, right? How are we going to get there? And when I say to kids, I left, you know, I've got 2 businesses. When I didn't get my GCSEs till I was 52. So there's always another way. There's always a plan B, always. Absolutely. You know, and this push to learn. Oh, anyway.
I know. One of the things is, why do we have to have all these exams? Why do we have to sit there and do these exams? Exams, I can't do exams. I really can't. And you know, maths and English, yeah, I was okay at maths, but I didn't leave school with any qualification. Well, I did catering, creative, and arts, creative. You know, maths and English, I struggled.
And it's only taking a snapshot in time as well. You know, when you're sitting in an exam, so it's not giving you the whole picture. You know, so yeah.
So you can imagine when I was a child and when my book was marked, you know, from primary school to, you know, secondary, all you see is red ink everywhere. You know, that's all you ever saw on that page. And okay, yeah. So, I mean, if any of my teachers were watching this now, they'd be like, "Is that Elizabeth?" They would never believe I would have even made it to, I don't know. They would never believe it. I just hope some of my teachers are still with us to know that, look, I did it my way and it worked my way. Yeah. And that's the message I'm sending out to people that are creative. Listen, if you're a fashion designer, go for it, do it. If any parent is listening, if your child's an actor or actress, a footballer, encourage them to be a good footballer. I always say to my children, you want to do arts, you're going to have to be the best in what you do. And if you're so passionate about it, you will make it and you will succeed. You can't say to me, I want to be an artist, and you're sitting there not doing nothing about it. You are going to be the best at that. And, you know, I've got 3 children, 2 older ones and a young one. I said, what are you good at? Go with it. I support you all the way. And when you leave children to do what they love, they excel in it so much.
Without a doubt. The bigger issue, which again, we won't be able to cover tonight, but the bigger issue is that until the government change how they determine whether a school is good or not, which is on key performance indicators, you know, grades, until they change that, nothing will change. Yeah. You know, when they start to measure children's happiness as whether a school's doing well or not, that's when you'll see change. But right now it's all about you grade. I've told my daughter there's certain subjects she doesn't like. I'm like, don't even bother studying them. I was like, don't go to the exam. What are you going to the exam for? You don't want French. I don't care. No bother go. Sorry, I went to Patwa then. Anyway, let me just read some things here. So Tina says, you really right, Elizabeth. Oh, she uses a long word here. I don't know. Multiple conditions are very common. What did she call that?
Comorbidities.
Oh, comorbidity. Yes. Comorbidity.
Yeah, they're very common. Sergi says
that's just sort of overlapping.
Okay. Sergi says school has identified her son's help, but so far all she's received is a referral to parental behaviour course. That's like, hello, that's not good to help.
No.
And people are saying that more training is needed in schools, particularly at primary. And Marina was saying that you're meant to feel so inadequate that you hide it. Yeah. So she was 45 before she admitted that she had dyslexia, which is so difficult. And Lady Fiona is saying we shouldn't let our disabilities define us, and she says, well done to you, Elizabeth. Marina, yes, she's a talker. She realizes that she can talk, then she doesn't have to write things down. She can chat. And Marcy Clark says she's heard before how successful people have dyslexia. It makes sense, Elizabeth, what Elizabeth was saying about how we need to better understand and harness the different kinds of creativity. And schools should do more around that as well. So yeah, we've got a lot of comments here. And Katia says the other thing is the support for neurodivergent children that are left feeling less than far too long. So I've heard this term neurodiversity. So is that again an umbrella for all of this?
Well, yes. So that's what academics use. They call it, there's neurodiversity, neuro minority, neurotypical, neuro whatever. Right, okay, whatever. I have dyslexia because I can't spell none of those words. To be honest with you, all these fancy words people are coming out with, I'm like, really, that's really great. But you know, I've got dyslexia. What help can you give me? Because if I don't break it down like that, I don't even understand. You know, the reason why they say neurodiversity, so that if somebody's got ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, all that in one, it's easier to say neurodiversity. It's the word they use. But I like to literally tell people each one of it, because it affects me in so many different ways, and I prefer it that way. Because if you got me to spell neurodiversity, you aren't going to get no words out of me. I can't spell it. anything I can't spell, I don't want to spend forever trying to spell it. So I can't spell dyslexia, by the way, but I will try my best with dyslexia, but all this newer stuff it's just too much for my head. Yeah. So that's the word academics use. And it's quite a word that a lot of people start using it now. But I find that we're a grassroots organization, and when we're using big fat posh words like that, we get people go, what's that then? And then I have to try and explain. And by the time I've got to the middle of it, I've forgotten it all. Remember, I've got very short-term memory, so I've forgotten everything. So yeah, people can call it what they want to, but I know I've got dyslexia, and that's all I can say for now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell us about your business, what you're doing.
So A2I Dyslexia, really, the name of the organization called Aspire2inspire Dyslexia. Now, when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, in the end, I was like, you know, I've got to own this. You've got to be in a place to accept and own it, because there are people who are still diagnosed and still ashamed to admit that they've got this condition. So I had to own it. And then I realized, hang on a minute, there was a book that I bought, and it's called Successful Creative Dyslexic. It's written by an author called Margaret Rook. I bought that book some time ago, almost like 5.5 years ago now. And when I read it, and all these people are in there that have really done well for themselves, and I thought it took me forever to read it, but I read it in the end. And I said, well, actually, if they can do it, then I can. I've got dyslexia. They've done it. Listen, how did they do it? I know how creative I am. And I want to do my thing, because I'm fed up of hiding underneath the table. The boss is coming in like, you're panicking, your palms are sweating, anxiety, panic. Elizabeth, where's that report? Oh, you get it by Friday. And Friday come, I'm off sick. Just what I mean? I can't live like that anymore. So I just couldn't live like that anymore. So when I finished my teaching degree, I wanted a job. I went to a local job centre. And I remember asking the job coach at the time, is there any support for dyslexics? She said, well, we have a disability advisor. And I thought, well, there's two different things. Disability advisor is looking after the whole of the disability clients that come in. I just wanted dyslexia. With my dyslexia, if you make things too complicated, I just lose interest. And I was losing I like simple things in life. So when she said, I said, okay, where can I go for help with my dyslexia? She said, well, have you contacted the British Dyslexia Association? So I said, okay. So I rang them up, and they gave me half an hour support over the phone. I thought, right, okay, what next? What do I do now? I want a place where I can walk into and talk to someone and see. British Dyslexia Association is a fantastic organisation. They're dealing with all the research and all this sort of diagnosis and the treaters training. They're amazing. I needed someone one-on-one, and I couldn't get that. So I walked out of that place, and I remember coming home, and I said to my son, I'm going to set up a business. And he went, oh, okay, you must have won the lottery, Mum. I said, no, I've got £1.25 in my bank account, and this is no lie. I had no money, and I had nothing in my bank account, literally £1.25. I said, I'm going to set up a business. So how are you going to do that? And I said, because you're going to set me up a website, aren't you? Because you're very creative. And I remember those days, you have Vistaprint cards. They're like £5 for 1,000, and Vistaprint leaflets. And I thought, right, when I get my next dough check or dough money or whatever we called them at the time, I'm going to print cards. I did. And I started networking. There's a local network called Wandsworth Chambers, Business Chambers. And I joined that network, and I kept networking. I kept going places, and I give my card to everybody and anyone I meet at events. Those were the days we could meet. And of course, as I give my business card to people, they're like, oh, I know someone that's got dyslexia, and they're doing really well. Oh, I know someone who's got dyslexia, I'll refer them to you. But I'll be honest with you, the first year of A2I, for about the first year, we had one client, and I thought, this ain't really going to work, is it? But you know what, Leslie, I was never going to give up. Do you remember, I wasn't going to give up. I cannot give up. That giving up has just gone out the window. Can't do it no more. So I kept pursuing and keep going. And 5 years later, we are just, if I can blow my own trumpet, we are doing so amazing, phenomenal.
Okay.
Our main focus, like at the moment, we're really supporting a lot of Black dyslexics. We have events online now, virtually. There's a charity called Black Thrive, who are based in Lambeth. So they've given us money to give free dyslexic assessment to Lambeth residents. I wish it was the whole country, but it isn't, only for Lambeth residents. We're running free workshops called Create Your Future with Dyslexia. We work with 3 different areas, which is employability, education, and startup. And these are the areas that were pulling me down. So I thought, listen, it can't just be me. Other people must be going through the same thing. And we also do study skills. So study skills is across London. Anybody who lives in the London borough can tap into our study skills, and that's free. It would have normally cost £65 an hour, but we're giving it for free. And of course, we have events and all sorts of things going on, and we get funded to be able to support people. Because listen, it's expensive. Having dyslexia is very expensive. But I went did it my way. And I'll be honest with you, you might think, oh, how did you do all the written bits that go with it? Someone who could got paid. There's something called access to work. So you might be able to tap into an access to work support and be able to thrive, because it's a barrier to work. And if you don't do anything about dyslexia and just think it's going to disappear, you're going to be there for a long time, because it doesn't disappear. I sometimes hear people go, oh, I used to have dyslexia. I'm like, oh, what pill did you take? I'd like to take some.
Only I want one.
Doesn't go away.
Wow.
And it's also genetic. It's also genetic. So, you know, I've got dyslexia, but I'm very lucky that none of my children have got dyslexia. But it could skip a generation and my grandchildren might have dyslexia. I know how to deal with it. I've got the knowledge of it. I've got the understanding. I'm no longer ashamed. I go to the bank and I'm like, I'm here to do this and that. Listen, I've got dyslexia. How best can you support me? We need a quiet room, because if there's noise around me, I can't focus. You know, and I'm open. People are normally like, okay, no problem. You know, we can support you. Or you might get some people who've got quite sort of ignorant about dyslexia and think, oh, listen, you don't look it. And you think, well, okay, that's just another day, another story. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. So how can people get in touch with you, Elizabeth?
So A2I Dyslexia, we are all over the social media. You know, Google us and we'll just come up. Our website is www.a2idyslexia.org.uk. Literally, if you type in A2I Dyslexia, we're the first to pop up. And to get in touch, you can either ring us. Our phone number is everywhere as well. So you can either ring, you can send a message on any of our social media platform. We do live shows on Mondays, so you can catch all the live shows on YouTube. Again, A2I Dyslexia, it will all pop up. There's not one topic I don't think we've covered. We've covered everything, from substance abuse to dyslexia, mental health, to dyslexia and success, everything. We've covered most topics, and we still do these every Mondays, except the holidays, the bank holidays. So YouTube is that. Facebook, you can find us on there. Podcast, any other podcast channels. Again, if you put in A2I Dyslexia, all things dyslexia will pop up. We also do assessments for £120. We're not doing it remotely at the moment because we don't know how to do it remotely at the moment. So until we do, we'll let people know. And we also do dyslexia screening. Now, Karen spoke about self-esteem and confidence. When you don't deal with all these conditions we've spoken about, the repercussions of it is worse than the condition itself. So we're talking about confidence and self-esteem and the trauma of living this condition. There's nothing worse if you were at school and all you kept hearing was you're so dumb and stupid. These are the two words I don't like to use, but it's commonly used. You know, when you keep hearing that, if you don't do something about it or the condition, you grow up thinking that. The mind is a very powerful thing. And as a result, it can really make one lose their confidence and everything. So it's really important that we go for the help we need. And I'm speaking to the Black community, go for the help you need. Yeah.
I just want to say, actually, you just reminded me when you said that the brain, you know, the mind is a very powerful thing. I was reading something yesterday by Dr. Daniel Amen, Dr. Amen, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's got a book out, and it's The Brain is Always Listening. And I thought, oh my God, it's true. We just take in all this stuff and we kind of internalize everything, and then we think that's who we are, don't we? Yeah, we keep hearing it often, you know. The brain always listening, and we'll take that in. Yeah,
it's very, very true. We talk to children about that all the time. You know, that's your self-talk is so important. You know, it can hold you back or power you forward. But yeah, it's really important. But you know, I just take my hat off to you, Elizabeth, because I think you're doing amazing things. I really do, and it's so needed. So it's A2I.
A2I, yeah. Yeah, and it's really strange that even though it's known as Aspire2inspire Dyslexia, so we shorten it to A2I. If you got me to say my alphabets, let, let me get to the I, and I'm like, oh, what comes next? So So I can only do sort of read my alphabet from A and then to the number I. And think, what comes after I? And then I have to literally count my fingers and keep going.
Yeah.
So as much as it's the name of the company, it's also really, I do honestly, the L, the M, the N, all those bits that come into it. And you're like, okay. And I'm a big grown woman with a degree and a professional teaching degree. But yes, I do struggle with my alphabet. And yes, I don't know my times table. And guess what? I've set up a business. So what's stopping you?
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Karen, have you got any more comments? Sorry.
I think we've covered them all. Yeah, we've covered them all. I think it's really important. I think people see your energy, and a lot, you know, I found that your lived experience sometimes is much more important than anything else. And when I say to kids when they're struggling at school, in both my businesses, going into the world of education, which is not my background, I'm corporate, no school, no university, no college, no parent, no anybody has ever said to me, can I see your qualifications?
Go.
Yeah. No one's asked me for my qualifications. They'll ask me for my safeguarding, they'll ask me for DBS, but they've never said, can I see your qualifications? Because I just believe in what I do, and you know, just like you, and it's really, really important. And like I said, I think what you're doing is so needed that I definitely just take my hat off to you. Thank you.
There was one thing when I was in a very dark place. I mean, I kept hiding, I kept running away from it. And I just thought I'll wake up one morning and dyslexia would just disappear. And I'll be the most wonderful, amazing, cleverest person you could ever find. I woke up one morning and it was still there. And I thought, you know what? You can't go deeper than that. You know, when you're so low that you can't go lower than that. And you just think, Lord, I need help. How do I find my way out of this dark hole that I'm in? And that's when I obviously went for the assessment and everything came back as you've got dyslexia. And all the software and the gadgets and everything they've given me, the color coding and mind mapping and speech to text and Clara Reed and, you know, Grammarly and all these things that are there to support you. I mean, if I want to spell Leslie, I would just go to Google Leslie. I make a different spellings of Leslie, but hey, there's so many things to support us now. I mean, I graduated in 2001. I think one of you can add up the years. I don't know how many years ago that is, but I know it's 2001. And, you know, dyslexia is easy. You know, you can speak about it a lot more now.
Yeah.
And I just want to say to our viewers, please don't live in total silence. Please don't hide it, because listen, don't worry about what people say. Listen, no matter what you do, people will talk. But you need that help. And if you need that help, just go and ask for that help. 9 out of 10 people are willing to support you. Yeah. But if you're an education system, if you're at college or uni, or if you're a parent listening to this and you think, well, actually, I can't bring that shame upon myself, or I don't believe it exists, or it's not real, your child will really struggle. You know, they're not really going to be able to do it. But the one thing I said to myself was, I can and I will, no matter what it takes to get to the level I need to get. This is just a tip of the iceberg. I normally say to people, just watch the space, because there's so much inspiration that people need to be able to unlock their full potential. Yeah. And sometimes it has to come from one of us to open that door.
True. So true. So in terms of comments, Fiona says that all things are possible if you believe. I will just add to that, if you've got the right support as well. And Marina said it's really hard on teenagers. And again, Marina said, especially when schools just see kids as having an attitude, college need to support young people more. So I see a lot of this where teachers confuse ADHD with just bad behaviour. You know, they just think, oh, you're just naughty. And actually, I think there's a little bit more than that going on here. And Tina says the community needs to be educated to move towards acceptance, not labelling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I mean, I normally say to people, the label did me good, and that's a personal thing. Because if I didn't have this dyslexia label, I don't know what other help I could have got. It had to be something for me to be able to get that support. Most people will say, well, actually, I don't want the label. Fair enough. But it has to have something. We've got to call it something for you to be able to get that support. But you don't have to physically walk around with dyslexia written on your forehead. No one needs to know. I choose to tell the whole world I've got dyslexia. And I choose to tell the whole world because the whole world needs to hear that there is support out there. Some people choose to keep that quiet today, so that's fair enough. And that's why God is using me to open doors for so many people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Wow, it has been so I knew it'd be so interesting anyway, because I just find it such a fascinating subject, you know. So thank you so much for, you know, sharing all your knowledge with us. I really appreciate it. And if people, so you've told us your website, please leave your details as well in the comments, so then people can, you know, just click onto it really easy. And you said you was doing an event very shortly as well.
Yes, we just finished one of our events called Black a Conversation, or is it Black and Dyslexia a Conversation? That we just finished that literally just, when I say finished, it's gone, the date is gone. But we are having, from that event, we had like 100 people booked for tickets. So the whole tickets were sold out, and the event was only for an hour. So people didn't get to ask as many questions as they wanted to. So we've decided to just have another event purely on questioning, Q&A. So there's nothing but Q&A with a panel of experts talking to you about Dyscalculia, Irlen Syndrome, dyslexia, where do I go for help? How do I know I've got dyslexia? What are the symptoms? All those things. And that's going to happen. I think the date might have changed a little bit, but I might send you the flyer, Leslie, so that you can share it. And that's happening very soon. And then in June, we've got Dyslexia and Building a Career with Dyslexia. And that's in partnership with a company called Do It Now Now. And then, of course, in September, we've got another, we always have events. And I think with lockdown, it's been amazing working virtually. So you don't physically have to put on your high heels and your boots and that. You could still be in your pajamas and still be in an event. No one's going to know the difference. So, yeah, so we've always got events. I mean, if you follow us on A2I Dyslexia, then you get to find out. We're on LinkedIn. We're on every social media except Pin It, or whatever they call it. You know, that the red one. We're not on the
Pinterest.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Pin It. That's my dyslexia coming through. I call it something. So, and I mean, you know, with the problem, the issue of dyslexia, so to speak, sometimes we so stumble across our words that you just have to laugh, because you know it's just one of those things. I mean, pronunciation is a problem for me. So how it's written, I have to like, okay, how do you now say that? And I have to break it up to, I don't know, 4 different ways of saying it. And I remember once I was at a meeting, and there's one chap who's really, he's such a, you know, he's always working. And all I wanted to say to him, you're such a alcoholic. But I meant you're such a workaholic. So can you imagine how that came out?
Oh my God.
I mean, in the end, we laughed about it because he's a colleague of mine. But can you imagine saying to somebody, all I wanted to say is a workaholic, but I ended up saying alcoholic because it's got that on the end. So, and we come out with some amazing stuff, and you just think, look, it's one of those conditions, as much as it's very serious, it's also like you say something, you think, did I really say that? You know, but it's because I struggle with pronunciation of words. Or I know what I want to say, but it comes out completely wrong. You know, that could be an issue in a boardroom, but it is what it is. You know, it is condition.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, wow, Elizabeth, it's been brilliant, because everything you're saying, it's like I can just so relate with it all. It's just, yeah, I just love it. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. Karen, have we got any more comments, or would you like to say?
We've got a few claps.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been really
saying
good.
it's been a great show and great information. So yeah, and I think the thing that I wanted to say was, although you know you've done this long list of successful Black people with dyslexia, I think you would relate more to children than Danny Glover or anybody else, because you're just not discrediting you or you know, limiting you, but you're just a normal person with dyslexia who has done well, and that means much more to our young people. They can just relate to you. So we need to talk.
Absolutely. And I normally say, look, I'm a local girl from London, born in Balham, lived in a council estate, still live in a council estate, which I'm not embarrassed about. It's what it is. But my mission out there, or the message is, listen, there is help and support. Ask. because if you ask, it shall be given. And if you knock, it will open. But if you don't do any of these things and you think, oh, I'm too ashamed, people are going to laugh at me. Listen, when you're that millionaire like Will Smith, let them laugh. You're on your way. You're going to be successful. But it's only through the help and the support. You know, it's available. It is out there. You just got to ask. Because your teachers or the teacher's not going to assume, they're not going to know you've got that condition. And if they do know, they're not well trained to support you. There's not that many teachers that are trained to support all specific learning. Dyslexia is one of those, ADHD, I've come across young people that got ADHD and they exhibit it through hyperactivity, for example. When you've got a child with dyslexia who is ashamed to stand in front of the class and read, they're going to be introverts. They're not going to be speaking. So they're in the background quite quiet. And what happens to that child? Do they just remain there? Or how are they going to flourish? How are they going to go forward? So it's up to the parents to also say, look, go out there and Google for Black famous dyslexics or local dyslexic. I'm sure I'll come up somewhere when you Google it.
we can talk about this forever. Do you know what I mean? We could talk about this, but we need to. It's like, wow, where has the time gone? Oh my goodness! Thank you so much to our audience. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, really interesting topic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And ladies, would you like to say anything else before we go?
I'm just blown away actually by the information. I've learned so much, the stuff there that I really did not know. And it's just made me also think about, not my children's experiences actually. And I wonder, and as I said earlier, one of them did get tested. And he was, I think it was borderline, but thinking that may have been something else.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
That was always getting into trouble, and all of that. But yeah.
Karen?
Interesting.
No, again, I would just, say what I've said before, that I really love what you're doing. And, when you talked about the number of people in prison, a large percentage of children that get excluded from school end up in prison. And a larger number of children that get excluded from school get excluded because they've got issues around behaviour and dyslexia and ADHD that are not recognised. So the earlier that we can get in there and support those kids, the better those statistics are for kids generally. But no, I just think the work that you're doing is amazing. And we're looking at doing some work with teachers at an early stage around coaching, and I'm sure you could do with doing some work with teachers at an early stage around some of these issues around dyslexia and ADHD. But just thank you so much. It's been fabulous.
Pleasure meeting you all. You're doing amazing work. Well done.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, just stay right there. Don't go nowhere yet. Thank you so much to our audience for tuning in every Sunday, 5 o'clock. I do apologise. Next week, Sunday, 18th of April, that is a very special day for one person sat here today. Who can that be? It's me. Hey! It's my birthday next week, Sunday, 18th of April. And I would love to be here on this platform, but I'm going to be spending my birthday with my family this year, because last year was, I suppose, for a lot of people celebrating their birthday by themselves. But I'm going to be going to Leeds, so I won't be here, but we're back on the 25th with an absolutely brilliant guest as well. So we will see you then, 25th of April, 5 o'clock. See you all then, and thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Bye.